Well, Jack, we're officially in the debrief portion of the show where we sit down with SDR leaders like yourself and learn about your strategies, tips, and your story. Before we dive into anything work-related or sales-related, I want to ask you, how was your first experience getting pitched on the show today?
It was fun, and I agree with them that it is fast. That 60 seconds, you don't realize how quick that goes.
I know. It's awesome to see like how creative they can be to like cater their pitch and fit it in that 60-second time frame. But even then, sometimes you can't just fit everything in, right?
It is, and the goal is like just build that curiosity so that if you didn't have that 60-second limitation, that conversation will keep going. And I feel like all of them did that.
Yeah, they did a great job. It honestly, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to come on the show and pitch in front of not only the audience, but pitch yourself. Speaking of which, everyone who has seen your content on LinkedIn knows you're a huge advocate for the phones, helping SDRs build their courage and confidence to control their own pipeline. I want to ask, was it always like that for yourself when you first started as an SDR, or did you kind of have to like, so to say, learn to love the art of cold calling?
I had to learn to love it. When I first came in, I actually came in selling enterprise SaaS to the government. And guess who doesn't like being cold called? People in the military. They don't want to talk to you. And, you know, we really didn't even lean into the phones as a strategy when I first started. But over time, I just saw, hey, the core of what we're trying to achieve is human-to-human conversations. The fastest way to a human conversation is that person on the other end of the phone. And really more as a coach is when I fell in love with like cold calling, the art of cold calling, and being able to help reps navigate that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you got to really keep pushing for it, especially if you're calling the government.
Yeah.
But sticking on the topic of your early career, I did want to point out that you have a pretty impressive track record from being an SDR for just a year or so, and then quickly getting into leadership where you crushed it as an SDR manager. Specifically looking at your time as BD manager over at Clearbit, your team annihilated quota every quarter. What do you think was the key improvements you made for the team to see that type of success?
I'll backtrack a bit just to say that you don't succeed on your own, y'all. Like it takes a village of people willing to believe in you, invest in you. I had great mentors all through my career, great teams around me, people who pushed me. So you're not going to go do it alone. Surround yourself with people better than yourself. But specifically at Clearbit, what we did a good job of was really getting down into the data. This job is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You're supposed to do 4 things in this job. Reach out to people, get them to reply, book meetings with those that reply, and make sure the meetings you book are qualified. So you can break this job down into 4 conversions, right? And you have this funnel left to right. So what we were able to do at Clearbit is break that funnel down left to right and come up with every reason why a metric might be affected within each piece of the funnel. So if you're trying to reach out to people and you're not reaching out to enough people, okay, let's look at your workflow. Let's look at how you structure your day. Let's look at like cadence, flow structure, right? Are we requiring too much manual pre-work? If you're not converting qualified meetings, well, go recap with your AE what they're looking for. Let's reassess, are we bringing the right people? So you can build a 4-step funnel and come up with every factor that can affect and impact that metric and coach to that. And we were able to do a good job of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. You put it in that like breakdown format. I don't think I've actually heard anybody like dive too deep into that previously on the show. So that's actually pretty awesome. And do you think those tactics are still, able to be used in our 2024 landscape where sales is making a big shift?
I do. What's different about my current role is we are way more phone heavy now than we were at Clearbit. And so Clearbit, we were able to really focus on like email outreach and reply rates, stuff like that. Phones are completely different. And I haven't yet cracked the code on how to funnelize that. I think I've got some ideas. I've obviously been working on stuff. But I think, in 2024, it's no longer going to be like, hey, let's triple down into this one channel we know works. It's going to be, hey, we need to triple down on all channels and be able to track and measure success on those.
Yeah. Got to stay omni-channel, multi-threaded, got to do it all, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In terms of leadership, you talk a lot about servant leadership. It's all over your LinkedIn. You post about it. I guess, could you talk a little bit about what goes into that philosophy and maybe what are some ways other managers can also express that idea with their team?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start from where it comes from. Candidly, it comes from my faith. Like Jesus, I follow Jesus. He said he came not to be served, but to serve. And so I follow his model. And the way that turns into the business world is if you look at an org chart, you can actually flip it, right? So leadership's up here, everyone reports up, and you must do what I say. No, we flip that. We say, hey, I'm your leader. I'm here to serve you, empower you. And that just leads to much better outcomes and success that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the same idea as as an SDR, my manager is not my boss. I am my manager's boss in a way, right? Because the manager has to always make sure that SDRs are happy, that they're confident, that they're coaching them correctly, and that they can actually see success in their role. And
Yeah.
without servant leadership, you can't really do that, right?
Yeah, the SDRs that understand what you just said, that I'm a resource to them, that I am there to make them successful.
Yeah.
Those are the SDRs that do really well. The ones that are like, oh, you're there to like make sure I'm doing my stuff. Like, no, you're missing the point. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. Your reps at fourth are pretty lucky to have you then. But besides them, you're also managing a brand new SDR for a SaaS company you just founded called Blitz. I'm curious, you've been now a first time founder for a year or so. How's it been going? Do you have anything you want to share in terms of your experience being a first time founder and also coaching a first time SDR?
Sure. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. And you have to make sacrifices. It looks really sexy from the outside, I'm sure. Like, oh, SDR leader, founder. It's not that sexy, I promise. Like you don't wake up at 4:30 a.m. like I do with, a 6-month-old baby and life stuff going on. And you just have to be willing to put in the work. No one's going to do it for you. I think another thing I've learned just founding a business is it's not going to go as well as you think it is. It's going to be
Yeah.
really hard and you can have a lot of headwinds. And you just have to have that eternal optimist mindset of, hey, this isn't a failure and we shouldn't shut our business down. No, this is a lesson. This person churned. Okay, cool. What did we learn? How do we implement something for the future? And when it comes to coaching, I give her, like 45 minutes a morning before the workday starts because I've got a day job. I want to respect that.
Yeah.
But 45 minutes a day isn't enough coaching, right? And so it's kind of a paradox right now where we sell this platform that we believe will help coaches coach their reps, and I'm not able to be there as a full-time coach. So we're actually working on some solutions there. Dom, you've been a great help calling with our SDR.
Of course.
So yeah, I don't know if any of that lands, but
Yeah.
that's where it is.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it sounds like every first time founder, they always talk about pivoting, and it sounds like it's a lot of work, and it's also a lot of pivoting when things aren't working out the way they should be, right? And in terms of your SDR, I mean, she was on the show last week, and she won. So clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah, she's incredible. She's just a hard worker, and that's the thing. Like when hiring SDRs or whatever, I look for heart, I look for hustle, and she
Yep.
had both. I don't care about the skills; you'll learn those if you have the heart and the hustle.
Absolutely, I agree. And in terms of coaching, on that note, I actually did want to ask you any advice you have for SDRs looking to make the jump into leadership. These days, we're seeing that a lot of SDRs, they don't want to be AEs. They don't want to just go directly to be an account executive. They want to actually become an SDR manager. And so, anything that any lessons you learned earlier in your career that maybe anybody watching this can find helpful?
I said yes to every single opportunity that came my way. I also asked for opportunities, so do the job to get the job. Your performance is number one, though. You will have no street cred, no respect, no ear from your leadership if you're not performing. So perform, and if your numbers are good, go to your manager and say, hey, that thing you do with us every Monday, are you good if I actually run that session for you so you have more time to go do X, Y, Z? And your manager is probably going to say sure because they want you to have an opportunity. So you just go make those opportunities for yourself while keeping performance number one.
Absolutely. Well, Jack, it's been a blast having you on the show. Everyone watching, make sure you connect with Jack on LinkedIn to follow his journey as a first-time founder and stay up to date with all of his SDR strategies and tips for success. Before we head out, Jack, anything you want to say, before we close out, any shout outs you have to give?
Dom, you're the man putting this together. All the SDRs that were on calling earlier. I mean, this job is all about doing it, and they're doing it. They're out there. My hat's off to them. And this is not a plug for Trellis just because this is a Trellis event. Trellis is sick. Trellis is sick. Check it out.
Appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out Call Blitz, make sure you do as well. But awesome. Well, thank you again, Jack. Thank you for everybody watching. We'll see you next time on Get Pitched.